Adam, you're in charge of My Music Masterclass. Not only in charge, but you're the creative force behind this. You're a person that makes everything happen. Now, I have to say, first, I knew of the artists that you were recording. So through the artists and being a student of music and jazz and instrumental and improvised music, I got to follow my favorite artists. My favorite artists are working with you
Mhm.
at My Music Masterclass. And My Music Masterclass provides me as a student with wonderful videos, with wonderful insights, with professionally recorded in the studios, including incredible PDF files with really insightful uh, rundown and breakdown step by step of what the artist is prepared for the lesson, and it's got multiple lessons. I love the ideas that you've got bundles as well.
Right.
So thank you so much for being here and for talking to me about all this. And how would you
Thanks for
describe
the nice
My
intro.
Music Masterclass in your own words?
Oh, wow. My own words. That's always tricky. Then I have to say them. Well, first I want to say that Jake Moses, because of the intro. Thank you for the beautiful intro, by the way. Jake Moses is like my right hand man, and me and him basically do the day to day. He's in LA still, and I'm in New York, so we split up the filming and we do all that. But so my music masterclass, back to the question, it started in 2012. I started it because I had a crazy idea and I decided that there really wasn't anything like it. There were things that there was online music lessons, right? There were online courses for basic things, how to learn how to play guitar, how to learn how to play saxophone, or really specific things like how to just play jazz or how to just play country or classical. But there wasn't really anything that I found that was really catered towards people that were really serious, or that some of them were about serious people, but they were very, very specific. And I wanted to make something that was not only for people that were at least in college, but also, or just serious about being professionals or just learning and practicing. I didn't want to just make something like that, but I also didn't want to limit it to just jazz or just something like that, because that's not what music is. And I love jazz. And obviously, if you know the website, we've got tons of amazing jazz musicians like, whatever, Adam Rogers, Mike Moreno, Ben Monder, and Jerry Bergonzi, all those guys. But it's not just that. I wanted to make sure that everything was, I don't know what the right word is, but everything was why can't I remember the word? Anyway, this is what happens when you're a father of a 5-year old. You forget words. Um, but anyway, so I decided to make this thing and it started going off really well. And what it is this platform where we get the best artists in the world doing different things. Like I said, it's not just jazz. So we have really great jazz artists. Um, I'm working with some people right now. I'm trying to get like a conical thing going on. I'm hoping to have that done soon. Um, we've done things on, I just did one on big band arranging and reharmonization. Um, Kind of Chris Walden just did it. We just released it today. That is kind of jazz based, but we've done stuff that's more classical. And what we do is we have this website, if you don't know of it, and we pay all the musicians the majority of the proceeds. So everyone is psyched to be there, and we try to sell everything as inexpensive as we can, and just to keep it accessible to people that want to learn, because I'm a professional musician and, you know, I know it's tough, or I was there. I had to eat rice and beans for, when I was starting out, and, it's tricky. So essentially we end up selling all these videos for a hell of a lot less than $100 an hour for a lesson or something like that with all these great artists. Plus we add notation when we can and do all that stuff. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's what we started doing, right? So this video thing, we basically film great artists doing what they do, and put it on video. People can rent it or buy it. But then we added other things to it too. So we added what do we have? We added a podcast recently. I mean, not recently, like a year ago or more. And this is why I look like this. This is why I have like, you know, like lighting and stuff like that. Because this was, I didn't just do it. I thank you for having me, but I did have this before. I didn't just buy it for this. Um, so essentially, we have a podcast where we decided that we wanted to, me and Jake, who also helps me with the site. So Jake and I do this podcast, and we have a lot of other musicians that we bring in to interview them and just kind of talk and hang. Um, all kinds of people that like people from the site, some other people that aren't on the site, but a lot of very, very talented musicians. And the purpose of the podcast was like that there's two sides of the musical coin, right? There's one side, which you see in the practice room all the time. And that is like you shedding and getting better. And then the other side is like all the other stuff that you have to do in the real world in order to get work. And that stuff is like equally, if not more important sometimes when you're in the scene. So that's why we do this podcast. It's like help people with their musical life, but also to advance their careers. And it's some of it is logical, really logical advice. And we can get into some of it later, but the podcast is called The Performer's Pathway. And we also started doing it on YouTube just a couple episodes ago, hence like this. And yeah, so that's been going great. And it's also like really therapeutic for me, just to like hang out with my friends and get to talk music and help people as well. I find it really rewarding. Um, there's other stuff we do on the site. We do micro credentials, which is kind of like I don't know what the actual like Webster definition is, but it's like a mini credential. Instead of going to college where you get credits for a course, this is kind of like you get a certificate, but it's from us. It's not like a recognized thing. The certificate is from an artist. So right now we do it with Ari Honig and Jerry Bergonzi. And it's basically there's this test that they have in their videos. So you watch the videos and then they have these requirements and you make a video of you executing the tasks that they say. And then if you pass, you get the certificate from, signed from Jerry Bergonzi or Ari Honig. We have one from Walt Weiskopf too. Let me see. I have my site right here, so like I can actually
Yeah,
see.
you're right. Yeah, it's there, all three of them. Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, thanks, man. See, I should know. But so we have those, and that's just like a way to help some people that are, can't go to a school that costs like $1 trillion because, as we know, that's kind of where education is right now. Um, I think NYU, I was just talking to someone. They said Tisch costs $95,000 a year in American money, which is like unfathomable. I can't even believe that. And I know Berkeley, when I was there, I mean, I went to Manhattan School of Music, but when I was living in Boston, um, I went there with Kenny Werner to, film some stuff and hang with him. And there was like 14 or 1500 guitar students, like right then, just like in school, like that's a hell of a lot of people. Right. And it costs like, I don't even know, like what, 50 or something a year. Anyway.
Yeah, it turns out 25 per semester or something like that.
Right. It's ridiculous. It's like you end up with, it could be like $200,000 in debt or whatever. Anyway, so this is just kind of a way if you're looking for a scholarship, you can say I was, I received this micro credential from Jerry Bergonzi on this, or sometimes people just want to put it in their resume or whatever the case is. And also some people just want the bragging rights because, it's literally Jerry or Ari or any of these people that are, certifying that you've accomplished these things and that you've passed the course, which is, I thought was pretty cool. So we do that. Um,
Well, it's
we,
also important to say that those are not easy courses, that
no,
they
they're
are set up by these musicians, and uh, it is a good way how to challenge yourself, b how to gain references that you need. Like we said, for European students, maybe we have an ambition to go to on to study in the States with Fulbright. for instance, or
What's
it could be American students trying to get to Europe, and we have got some colleges that are specifically focused on saxophones here in Europe, or
oh,
specifically focused on drummers or guitar players. So having credentials, for instance, from ARI, that's something that definitely people really have. It stands out on the CV.
right.
It stood out probably 5 years ago, and it will stand out in 15 years
Yeah.
ago from now on. So that's fantastic that you did that.
And I also thought that it could help with the visa situation because everyone's always trying to get somewhere with like either an O1A artist visa or something like that. I mean, hell, I've written so many letters trying to help people get into this country. And it was not easy because we had this orange asshole guy that was, but anyway,
There we go.
it's getting better. And, and when you have a visa, I know because I've helped people write them, you have to write, all the like you need like write-ups from your record or this. You have to show that you're a professional and that you're extraordinarily talented. And so it's always good to, have little things like that. Maybe a credential from this showing that you're accomplished. Anyway, that's one thing we do. We've got a little store. We were selling masks and we have shirts. The masks are we sold out. I never thought COVID would last this long, and I did not think that we would have to order more. And I refused to order more. I'm like, no, I can't. I mean, maybe I should, but I don't. I'm hoping that we don't need them forever. So we did that. And really, that's most of the stuff we've been doing. Oh yeah, the other thing we've been doing recently is this live webinar thing, which has been really, really great, especially in this time where musicians are having so much trouble, performing because of this. So we do webinars in the way that you think. People ask a question via Crowdcast, which is our platform, and I moderate, so it moves like super fast, and there's no dilly dallying, I guess, for lack of a better word. And what we do is we have the artist record it with a separate camera at the same time as the webcam because the web is always a problem. Like, I mean, this is just us talking, but you know how it is. You have one guy with a bad internet connection and it just starts glitching out. And so we always have a secondary camera there. And then we produce the video and add notation through Eduardo Bologna, who does it for us. And then we make this video for the catalog. So the people that watch it live get that produced version for free. And then then we end up selling it on the site too, because it's like a nice looking video with all these great topics and notation, and it ends up costing more than the people spent to get in, so they're always really happy. So we've been doing that. We just did one with Nelson Veras, who, if you don't know, he's an insanely talented nylon string jazz guitarist, and he was in Paris, and we did that one. We have one coming up with Peter Mazza. We also have Bobby Broom coming up, if another great guitarist, play with Sonny Rollins and all those guys. And yeah, and we did a successful one with Gilad Hexelman already. We did
Lage.
Lage, thank you. Peter Bernstein. Yeah, and Nir Felder, right. Okay, so we're always working on things, and right now that's been really, really cool because we're able to do this without going anywhere, and everyone can kind of do it safely. And yeah, that's what we do. I mean, that's a long answer, but we're here talking, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, Adam, when I was in a college, the college was a music college, and it has got probably as general subjects as every other music, course.
okay.
If you have rhythm, arranging, harmony, your instrumental class, your ensembles.
Mhm.
And when I went on your website, pretty much I got the very similar impression. But as I kept on clicking through, I saw that you have got categories for music production. You've got categories for music business, publishing, and licensing. Something that I vitally needed and still need and will need for my future, and I know very, very little about. And when it comes down to having an ambition of being a musical director for a project, for instance, I
Mhm.
actually watched two of your videos where you are hosting the whole show. I forgot the guy who was the producer, but he was working with some pop guys also in Germany with big shows.
Yeah, that
And
was Tony Bruno. He was a yeah, because
that's it.
he played with Nina, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. that was incredibly insightful to see how the whole team of musicians is working, and how you've got a drummer that could be a jazzer and is very very creative, and at the same time is on a bandstand as a person that is arranging, I don't know, electronics, or uh, that was very insightful, I have to say, just to look at how often you guys are working with laptops. When you come prepared for rehearsal with a pencil, then after rehearsal finishes, somebody goes and taps it out on a laptop, and you
Yeah.
guys are working all the time, and you've got great working pace. I thought that was really interesting to see, and I got a lot of it, most out of it. That was
Oh,
fantastic.
thanks. Yeah, I mean, and again, this goes back to what I said before, which is that we didn't want to be just a jazz program. I mean, because that's not, I mean, some people only do jazz and they only want to play jazz, and that's fine if that's your calling. But no one should think that they only have to do it because of peer pressure. It should be in you. So like if you're also like me, like I like more than just jazz. I like jazz. I like classical. I like pop music. I like, I mean, I like music that's good, right? So I mean, I'm a fan of Marvin Gaye and whatever, like I like Miles Davis, but I also like David Bowie, and I like, so it's always something, right? And I think it's important that all that stuff be, I think that's a thing in music school. Basically is what I'm trying to say, is that I think people in music school, at least here, I don't know if it's different, when you went to school, but here, everyone, when they're in jazz school, I was at Manhattan School of Music, which was like a real jazz school. Like it was not cool to talk about things that weren't jazz, which I think is not the best way to go about it. Um, Berkeley always had a little more variety. I mean, it's very different. There's pros and cons everywhere. But even so, it's, when you're in school and you're young, people get this, they say things they don't always mean. They get pulled into this competition, and it's difficult. You don't always, and then oftentimes after school, you go back to your roots and realize, like, I really like playing blues slide guitar and this and that. Maybe I can merge that with this and create something cooler than I ever thought, like David Tronzo, like who does these amazing slide guitar avant-garde things. Of course, he started, he was influenced by blues slide guitar players and jazz, and it just came to fruition. The same with Charlie Hunter. Like he created that because he was hearing that I wanted to do something different. So I always think that it's important for people to, be themselves and to dig deeper than just one style of music if they like it. I'm not going to push it, but I'm saying.
Well, I would say everybody in any kind of style of music, any instrumentalist will find something that they really like and they will benefit from, including pretty much any level. I discovered your project, My Music Masterclass, when I was probably maybe 1 year after college.
Mhm.
Um, and I watched guitar videos that you've got, composition videos, videos about the music business, and even if there was something that I already knew, uh, it went like a snowball. There was always something new, something new,
Right.
something new, something new, and it was extremely helpful and always worthy. You could say, I know C major scale, and there is Steve Cardenas saying something, how he approaches that. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm so happy I got the video.
Yeah.
Because, obviously we can go and study with Steve, which is fantastic. But it's limited by location, sometimes by time, and, their touring schedule that was pre-COVID. Uh, so every video had always something interesting, even for musicians that thought, okay, I think I'm that kind of level. And you're like, it's a nice compliment if you can, reach out to these musicians, but at the same time, you will always get something new. So you have mentioned a lot of things that you have prepared, through your experiences, uh,
Mhm.
together with the other musicians. Now, if you were put yourself in a position when you are a student, what did you learn from all these experiences, collaborating with these artists, coming up and discussing the programs that they are teaching, and
Oh, I learn
what
all
do
the
you
time.
think?
Every time I learn, and this actually will completely go hand in hand with what you just said. So the thing about music is that there are only 12 notes, right? And if you're talking about Western notation, and then you have a certain set amount of rhythm and ways you can subdivide that, and that kind of, you can do it in different ways. But even within, if you're talking about North Indian classical music versus this, or something from Turkey or from Europe or from the US, um, rhythm is finite. You can kind of quantize it. Swing is different. There's feels, but the thing is, in the long story short of this, is that you can have four people teaching a video, which I think we do on learning tunes, right? I think we have, or let me just figure it out in my head. All right, we have one from Frank Potenza. Lage, I think, did one. I think Mike Moreno, maybe. Um, and I mean, I think Bruce Foreman, maybe. I don't know, but we have at least four or five
And Peter
guitarists.
Bernstein was there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, like guitarists talking about learning tunes, and they all have a different way of doing it, and every one of them is valid. So what happens to me is that I get excited hearing a different perspective of how someone thought of it. And sometimes, especially with learning, um, there's not just one way to do it. And something will resonate with you from a certain perspective that you'll say, oh shit, like that clicked. Like I've been doing this for so long and that just clicked. So oftentimes I think people will start watching a video, and I don't know, I'm not there with them when they're watching it, but I would imagine they'd be like, oh yeah, like you said, like, sure, okay, they're explaining, these modes, and I know altered scale, and I know like diminish, half whole, and then they're like, oh, but that's that's a different way of dissecting this or thinking about it. And I think that that's what makes it so special, and that's what I always learn about. Like I know, I mean, a lot about music and also nothing at all, just like the rest of us. So, we're always learning. I know what I know, and I am always excited to hear someone's perspective. And whenever I go to these sessions, typically I'm like, I walk away like tapping something or doing something and thinking, oh, that's really weird. That's really hard for me to do. Or, so I'm just like anyone else, it's always exciting to see people give their take on it. And like I said, there are so many ways to look at music that if you are so hard-headed that you think that like you're like, I know this, you're like not going to learn anything as a musician. Like you have to be open to let it in, because there's different pathways that connect.
The range of all the artists and musicians that you have uh, on my music masterclass, they're as well as internationally known, but also locally known. Somebody that is a rising star, and they are picking up their opportunities and their chances, and they will eventually get that internationally recognition as they rightfully deserve. And I found that your platform is great for this, that they get to get their voice, and you get to check out wonderful guitar players, singers that otherwise we wouldn't hear here in Europe. And a lot of times it could be the only resource that represents their skills, and that could be on your website. I was preparing for an interview with Tana Alexa, so vocalist
Yeah,
from New York,
yeah, she's great.
and I I could find a lot of videos, let's say on YouTube. At that time, I couldn't find any interview, couldn't get any kind of idea what kind of person she was, what was her approach towards music. And I got two of your videos. I had to do it. I had, I think, like 48 hours to prepare for the interview, and that was great help. And it was incredibly musically valid, as much as
Yeah,
to pick up personality, what Tana is.
yeah,
So that's really helpful. uh
yeah.
how are you picking and choosing your artists, Adam?
Oh, we just have like this algorithm. No, it's no, no, it's there's no bots, there's no algorithms. I typically keep my ear to the ground. Meaning that I am looking for people that I mean, most of the people that I do know, I do know. Like, I know that's a weird thing to say, but like, I do know a lot of musicians and I'm aware of them. Like I know who, I mean, the obvious people, I know everyone that's working in the scenes around here. In Europe, I know I know less, but I do know a lot of people that are, working, that are wonderfully talented. Um, but the thing is that, first of all, I I am referred, people refer people to me, like for instance, Lage just, forwarded me an email that, like, he introduced me to Melissa Aldana, and I love Melissa's playing, and I was going to get in touch with her to see if she wanted to do a video. But I didn't have to, because Lage just, said, hey, Melissa's interested in doing something. You guys want to talk, because, and that's what happens when you run a business as a musician. Like we, like I said, we pay everyone more than we pay ourselves. So it's kind of like, we're a good family. So you get recommended, right? And that happens a lot. Like, I think Chico Pinheiro was referred by like Mike Moreno, and and I didn't know him before that. A lot of people are like that. Like, I met Alan Pasqua through Bob Shepard, or like, so the more things like that. At the same time, with Pasquale Grasso, I think I found him on the internet, and he blew my head off. I was like, what the, like this, that's different and crazy. And we kind of caught on with Pasquale before he was, as big as he is. We kind of started, we got in early. He was making his own CDs. He was amazing, but like he didn't have to deal with Blue Note or anything. Or no, was it Sony Masterworks? Yeah. But a lot of times, uh I find out, I do look around the internet, and people forward me things. You know what I mean? They're like, check this guy out, or check this girl out. She's insane, and so that's about it. I mean, sometimes I do post. There's this modern jazz guitar group on Facebook that's actually pretty cool. And I was just interested in some other people maybe I hadn't heard of. So I posted. I said, hey, who would you guys want to see a master class by? And I just had people reply. And you know what? That stuff is really important. Like, a matter of fact, I don't know how companies don't do that. Like, don't ask people what they want. I think it's totally a missed opportunity, because the musicians want to tell you what they want. Like, they want to tell you, they're like, oh, you got to get, you know, whatever, Kurt Rosenwinkel. I mean, that's too obvious, but or you have to get Chris Potter, or like, you get this, but they'll go into stuff that you hadn't heard. And there was a few people that, on this last one I did one of those posts, and I found a few names that I didn't know, and they were killing. They were great. And it wasn't like they were totally unknown. Like, people knew who they were. I just didn't know, So it's like, I can't know everything. I'm busy, but I find ways, and I'm really particular. Like, I'm not so particular in terms of, uh I need it to sell, because I don't know, maybe I'm more of a musician than a business person, unfortunately. I just want something that's super cool and I think can help people. So that's kind of what I go in with every time. I just say, like, would this be really cool, and would I want to learn it? Like, would other people want to learn it? And if I think that's true and the person is great, then I'm on board with it, And all on the other end, if someone is like, I know it'll sell really well, but I'm not into it, I wouldn't do it. So again, probably like not the best business advice, but that's what I do.
Would you recommend becoming a jazz musician in 2021?
That's a funny question. Sure. You know what I recommend? I recommend being happy, and doing what you want. And if you want to be a jazz musician, then be a jazz musician. I think that it's important to do whatever makes you happy, but also be realistic about what you're expecting. So if, like, for instance, again, check out our podcast, The Performance Pathway, if you want to hear a lot about this, because literally we do standalone episodes with Jake and I, where we just discuss like important things like networking, or like moving to a new town, or moving to a new country, or like all these things that are promotion, or how to cut through the crowd and market. And it's, it's a podcast, so it's free. But the the point, the underlying point with the podcast and all this stuff is that, like, the the moment that you lose your passion or that you burn out, like it's over. Like you got to keep fresh and you got to keep loving what you do. So I would much rather be happy and play music than be, or be happy and work a day job than be like pissed and be disenchanted playing music because like I'm not doing the gigs that I want to do. So I always tell people to do whatever they want, and as long as they're happy, and if you do it well enough, the money will come. Of course, there are things you could do to make money, and we talk about that on the podcast. There's millions of things you can do. You got to promote yourself. You got to do things the right way. You got to be cool. You got to be friendly. I mean, I can get into the whole thing, but you know, like you got to be happy first, because that you can't fake that. Like if you're not like happy to be playing, and if people, then people won't be happy when they play with you because you're gonna have this dark vibe, and no one wants to be around people that make them sad
Mhm.
when they're
I
playing.
know at the beginning, at the beginning of online education, a lot of parents, maybe students and teachers at the university were quite skeptical about online education. It's not in person, you cannot get a direct feedback. Those were the arguments we have heard a couple of times. Now it's 2021, and we all have to accept that online world is here with us, here to stay for a very long time.
Yeah.
And all now it's evolving more than ever really quickly, and people are performing, they are delivering master classes, but yet still your site and one more still stands out, that you were guys at the you were doing this for years at this point, right? uh, what benefits online education from your platform uh, benefits the students nowadays?
um well, I can name that. Like, I'll make it a little broader. I'll say that that our site, right, or whatever, any line education, it benefits the students because they now have, and this is what I thought in 2012 when there was no COVID or anything, that we could bring really, really, really good things to your door, right? Like right to you. And this isn't just for people that are out in the middle of nowhere. It's just the fact that before, sorry, before there was online learning like this, like you literally had to be in the same city as someone, right? So it's not like you're in Europe and I'm in New York. It's like someone's in Pennsylvania, or you know what I mean, or like Ireland and London. You know what I mean? Like it's close, but you're not going to drive there in 10 minutes. I mean, it's further. So now with the online learning, it allows obviously people to do whatever they need to do to get better at a faster level without it kind of put the business people out of business, the local teachers, a little bit, but not really. I mean, you still have to learn all that stuff. And that's kind of why my site, or My Music Masterclass, didn't go the route of like a college curriculum in terms of having, this is our course on the jazz melodic minor modes or something, and this is the course on the music of Thelonious Monk or something like that, because we're assuming that the people coming in would have that base, and if they didn't, which is fine, they could learn that. I mean, I don't have to show them that. There's plenty of free YouTube videos showing people like how to play Barry Harris, scales or this or that. So we wanted to do something very special, and that was also specific to the artist, right? So I think that's really special. And also the fact that, like, let's say you go and you want to study with Seamus Blake, or like, or whatever, Pete Bernstein. It's going to cost at least 100 an hour. I don't even know their prices. I'm just assuming. Um, but that I know it's at least that. And that's $100 an hour. And then you don't get notation or anything. And if you're doing it on Zoom, you know what I mean, which you can do now, that's cool. But it's still like just, like me and you talking right now. It's not like perfect, because you're on Zoom. It'd be better to be there, but it works. But with us, we make sure that we get a really good shot of the neck. Like if it's a guitarist, if it's a piano, we get a really good shot of the overhead. And we try to notate what we can. Like I said, we're limited budget, but we do a good job. And it's just different. Like when I grew up, because I'm 106 years old, like it was different back then. It was, there wasn't anything like this. Like,
Adam, what
so
vaccine are you taking?
I got the Pfizer. It works. No, um, no, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's a different era. And now we're kind of at the, I don't know what, the singularity or something, where there's so much stuff online that it's hard. And this is another topic which I've been talking about in our guidebook that we do sometimes. But it's harder to cut through. So if you're a new artist, for instance, trying to teach private lessons, and you just started, I'm branching off a little bit, but this is kind of cool. So if you're a new artist and you need to teach because COVID happened, and then how are you going to do that now? Because now everyone that has a big name is also doing it because like they had to, right? So it's definitely like a new game with all the stuff, and also with the websites. Like we may have been early, it's like it was pretty much like us and True Fire, you know what I mean?
True
Like,
fire.
yeah. And there were some others that kind of came and went, I mean, there were, and but we just stuck it out, and we're here. And it's the, so now there is more stuff. Like I said, there are more sites coming in, and it's not really a competition. I don't care, and it doesn't bother me. I just try to do the best we can and try to keep filming and inspiring people, you know so I'm hoping that everyone likes it. I mean, we don't get much bad feedback, of course. Like if you have a YouTube comment, there's always someone like, this sucks, but they usually spell sucks wrong or something. It's it's fine.
Adam, what would be the dream come true moment for my music masterclass from 2021 onwards?
um I don't know. I mean, I guess just I'm always I always have the impression, because we have a big mailing list now, because we have a lot of, sorry, I got a cough again. Allergies, not COVID. I'm fully vaccinated. No. All right. But so in terms of us, I I always think that because of our big mailing list, that everyone knows about us, but they don't. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people do. You know about it. A lot of musicians, but I've been to conferences where I'll just talk to a lot of jazz musicians, and I'll meet plenty of people that never heard of us. So, which is fine, but it just means that there's a lot of room to explore. It's actually good. It means that we're not close to the full potential of people even knowing who we are. So, so it'd be great. My dream come true would be for more people to know about what we're doing, and which will also help the artists, obviously, and us, and keep doing what we're doing. And I just think it's great. Like for me, um and this is a situation that happens often, where an artist will, I mean, like famous artists will say that they made more from us, like fourfold, than they did selling their CD from the new record. And it's like sad to me, you know what I mean? Like, because I'm a musician, and but I'm also happy that we're able to give that to them, and and support what everyone's doing. And also when I go to film these people, like it's easy, like it's like when I'm talking to you, I just say, I only get people that I trust. So I just say, all right, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, we're rolling, just do and yeah, I mean, I think just the dream would just be for more people to know us, and to help people. I mean, like there's really nothing else that I care about except for my family, and at this point, the education and helping people, the podcast, all that stuff. It's like it's all kind of geared to helping people. And and also a bigger dream would be that music gets back to a good spot, and that does not have anything to do with us. It just has to do with like my friends like eating. You know what I mean? Like like I want everyone to be able to do this again. Like we can't have a world with like limited music, you know?
Would you consider putting together festival when everything goes to good times?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I have spots we can do it in New York, and we can do it in Los Angeles as well. Uh, yeah, or we can maybe pull something together that's bigger. I mean, I'm open for anything. It just turns out it's like a funding thing, you know. So if there's money, if there's a way to do it, we'll pull it off. We could do it pretty easily, and we could do a streaming thing pretty easily, actually, and in Brooklyn, or now in Queens, actually. But and so I have a friend that has like one of the best live streaming rigs, and he's right in New York. I filmed a bunch of stuff at his studio. Peter Bernstein, those guys. So
Yeah.
if you in Log A2, so you know it's that
So
room.
that's the
It's
blue, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's got like it's a studio, yeah. So, but he's got an insane live stream rig. So I would love to do something there and have it live streamed because he has like 4 Sony A7s with vintage lenses, and it's beautiful looking, and people manning it. It's just yeah, you know, it's I'm always working on 10 things. It's hard, but yeah.
One thing that is very consistent from the very beginning is the logo you have got, My Music Masterclass, that M, and also the melody, the jingle that you use at the beginning.
All
Could
right,
you tell me how did it start? How did you come up with the design for the logo? How did you come up with the jingle?
sure. All right, well that song is actually that's a tune that I produced. That's me playing bass. That's and I produced that record. So that's from uh we called it Sickle Project, and it was before I started the website, and I made a whole record. So that's one of the tunes. It's called Bilby. And when we decided to do the website, or when I decided to do it, I thought that would be a cool tune to start it off. A cool groove. You know, this whole song is like 6 or 7 minutes. That's just like the intro. But the logo I decided to make, I just wrote it on a napkin or did it in Photoshop. And then, yeah, then I made it in Photoshop. And then that animation, I did it. And again, I'm a nerd. Like I do, that's part of my podcast too, is that I try to help people with that stuff. I literally am a nerd. I mean, I know how to fix computers. I made the website. I coded the website before we got it redone. So the whole beginning of My Music Masterclass was like the site I made. That flash animation that I turned into a movie for the intro was me. Like I made that. Like I was like keying in frames and stuff. I don't have as much time to do that stuff now, but it is always important to have skills like that because then you could like when I got the logo now, I got it a little touched up. I had a designer from Turkey help me out, and she was great. And yeah, and so I gave her ideas that I had to like make it a little more modern, and she did that, you know. But I did everything in the beginning, you know, so that was all just me messing around on a computer. And the thing is, when I was making the company, I did the whole thing for like $10,000. You know, I mean, I mean, founding the entire company, like I like getting lawyers and contracts and like making an incorporation and you know incorporating my company and getting any gear that I needed. Like you know, I did the entire thing for 10 grand. You know, it was
You,
funny.
you didn't have a child back then, right?
Oh
Because
no,
he's just 5.
yeah, no, I couldn't. I mean, that's the point. It's like now it's I'm glad to be in the state I am now because now I have Jake over in Los Angeles who does not have a child and he can work on different hours than I can. And yeah, I don't have a lot of time right now because of COVID and because we don't have childcare now because of COVID.
Mm.
So what I've been doing is working late at night and I work on weekends and I work early in the morning and I just don't sleep. So yeah, that
And 106 years old, you can do this, Adam.
it's my vegetarianism.
Well, Adam, you answered all my questions brilliantly. You're a wonderful man to talk to. You're very positive. You strike me like a very wise person in a nerdy way. So it definitely, you said it, you're a nerd.
I love it, man. I mean, that nerdism will keep you alive, you know. It's like always knowing new skills. It's a good thing to be well versed. I'll say this just as a leaving thing, as a final thought. We did an entire podcast on this actually, but it's great. So all these skills that you don't think are relevant, like if your mother or father was an accountant, or you're really good at computers, or you know how to use Illustrator, or I mean, things that aren't even like, you know how to fix a motorcycle, like whatever it is. Um, that stuff can get your foot in the door as a musician more than you think, because there's always, like, for instance, when I was young, I was like 21 or whatever in New York City. Older, really established musicians knew that I was really good at computers, and I would just go over to whoever's house, and they'd give me money too, but it's like I'd become friends with them, and they'd be like, dude, my computer is broken, you know, or I need someone to set up my studio, and I just knew how to do stuff. And you never realize how much these unrelated skills help you with your music career. So like, don't dismiss all these weird things that you can do. You know, if you know something strange, like how to code, or how to build a website, or if you've done it yourself, like you can manage to figure out how to get in with that into your career. It will help, I swear. Strange but true.